Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Hilatul Salsabila and my partner is Fajriyatul Ihsan. We will discuss about learning model and implementation in the material of static and dynamic electricity, also utilization of magnetic fields. Next is table of content. The first point of table of content is a learning model in static and dynamic electricity. Second point is application learning model material of static and dynamic electricity. Third point is learning model in utilization magnetic field, and the fourth point is application learning model in utilization magnetic field. Learning model in static and dynamic electricity. In terms of how combine concept, skill, topic, and their semantic or integrated unit, according to an expert named Robin Fogarty, there are 10 ways or model for planning integrated learning, but in the material of KD 3.5 and KD 3.4, it used 5 integrated learning models, namely the investigation group learning model, discovery learning model, web-based learning model, CTL or contextual teaching and learning, and also creative problem solving. Okay, first we will discuss about cooperative group investigation or GI. Definition: group investigation learning model or group investigation is learning model that involves small group requiring students to work using cooperative inquiry, planning, project, and group discussion result. Then, their finding to the class. There are several classifications of factors that affect the success of students in compiling explanatory text. There are factors of teacher, student, model, and learning media. The teacher's factor is that in teaching, the teacher still use traditional learning model in the form of lecture and to dominate the class so that it seems monotone and less varied. Then start that class in miniature democracy, which aim to study interpersonal social problems, describe some of the essential features of group investigative learning. These essential characteristics are 5. The first is the student work in a small group and have independence from the teacher. Second is activity of students are focused on answering the questions that have been formulated. Third is learning activity of the participants. Student will always require them to collect a number of data, analyze, and reach several conclusions. Fourth, student will use variety of approach in learning. And 5. Student research results are exchanged among all students. Examples of learning using group investigation are taken from the material that students will study on static electricity and dynamic electricity, such as the concept of static electricity, namely electric charge, Coulomb law, electric field, potential difference, and electrical energy. Then the application of electricity in everyday life, such as electricity contained in nerve cells and animals that produce electricity and use static electricity in technology. Whereas in dynamic electricity, there are like a loading electricity, current, electrical conduct, electrical circuit, characteristic of electrical circuit, source of electric current, and use electrical energy, effort to save and prevent the danger of using dynamic electricity. As for the step of group investigation learning on static electricity and dynamic electricity are follow 3 phases. There are the first phase is topic and dividing learns into group. The second phase is plain text, and the third phase in make an inquiry. The second topic is discovery learning. Definition of discovery learning model is learning that conveyed to student and student will understand the independently. In this case, student will be given the ability to become scientists. With this learning, students do not only play a passive role in receiving the subject matter. Discovery learning encourages students to actively use their intuition, imagination, creativity. Discovery is mental process where students are able to assimilate a concept or principle. The mental process is observing, digesting, understanding, classifying, making assumption, explaining, measuring, and making conclusion, and so on. Discovery learning has two forms in its implementation. The first implementation is guided discovery learning. Guided discovery learning is form that require teacher direction as a provider in learning activity. The second implementation is free discovery learning. Free discovery learning, which is a free form where students must be able to play an active role independently and do not need facilitator like a teacher. In applying the discovery learning method in the classroom, there are several procedures that must be carried out in the activity teaching and learning in general as follows: 6 procedure. The first procedure is identify the problem, the second is develop a solution, third is data collection, fourth analyze and interpretation of data, and the last is test conclusion. According to Ministry of Education, discovery learning model has two operational steps. The first step is preparation and the second step is implementation. That include in preparation. The first is determine the purpose of learning. The second is perform identification student characteristic. The third, selecting subject number. Fourth, determine the subject that should be student learn inductivity. 5, develop material teach. 6, arrange lesson topic from the simple to the complex. And the last is perform process evaluation and student learning outcomes. But in implementation stage of model implementation learning that according to Ministry of Education and Culture consists of some steps are stimulation, problem statement, data collection, verification, and the last is generalization. Implementation discovery learning. The syntax table for implementing discovery learning model in static and dynamic electricity. The step discovery learning is the first stimulation, second problem statement, third data collection, fourth data processing, 5 verification, and the last is generalization. Next is third material about Webet model. Definition of Webet model. The integrated learning Webet model is an integrated learning that uses thematic approach. This approach, its development begins with determining a specific theme. Theme can be set by negotiation between teacher and student, but also by way of discussion below the teacher. Next is the characteristic of the Webet learning model. The first is student as an object. 2. Give the direct experience. 3. Segregation of subject is not very clear. 4. Present concept from various subjects. 5. Flexible. 6. Learning outcomes are in accordance with student interests and talents. And the last is using the principle of learning while playing is fun. Webet is learning model in application requires steps in order to serve. It can run as it should. As 4 steps of the Webet learning model are follow. The first, learn basic competence. Second, determine the theme. 3. Identify theme and subtheme. 4. Identify the factor on each competence. 5. From a predetermined theme, student will get some vocabulary related to the theme, and the last is students are asked to develop vocabulary so that it becomes a simple composition.
Okay, the next material is about implementation of web model. The first is biology. In the material on the use of magnetic fields, the biological elements present can be linked to the learning, namely the use of magnetic fields in animal migration. Pada materi tentang pemanfaatan medan magnet, unsur biologi yang ada dapat dikaitkan dengan pembelajaran yaitu tentang pemanfaatan medan magnet dalam migrasi hewan. Contohnya adalah hewan mampu mendeteksi medan magnet bumi karena di dalam tubuh hewan terdapat magnet. Fenomena ini dinamakan dengan biomagnetik. Selain itu, medan magnet bumi dapat membantu hewan dalam menentukan arah migrasi, sehingga lebih mudah untuk mencari mangsa atau menghindari musuh. Okay, the next is basic. Physical element contained in this material such as the concept of magnetic force. Unsur fisika yang terkandung dalam materi ini adalah seperti konsep gaya magnet. Contohnya adalah magnet selalu memiliki dua kutub, yaitu kutub utara dan kutub selatan. Saat dipertemukan dengan kutub yang sama, maka magnet akan saling bertolakan. Sedangkan kutub magnet yang berbeda, magnet akan saling tarik-menarik. Next is chemistry. Chemical elements contained in the material use magnetic fields, like the way a magnet is made. It is known that an iron object can be used as magnetic by rubbing. Selanjutnya adalah unsur kimia. Unsur kimia yang terkandung dalam bahan ini adalah menggunakan medan magnet seperti cara pembuatan magnet. Diketahui bahwa benda besi dapat digunakan sebagai magnet dengan cara digosok. Besi digosokkan ke arah yang tetap, sehingga magnet dasar dapat diatur untuk pergi ke satu arah saja. Dan besi dan baja dapat dimagnetisasi dengan induksi atau dengan mendekatkannya dengan magnet untuk waktu tertentu. Okay, the next is mathematics. In the use of these magnetic fields, material can be done with Lorentz force induction. Dalam penggunaan material medan magnet ini dapat dilakukan dengan induksi gaya Lorentz. Seperti telah diketahui bahwa gaya Lorentz yang ada, semakin besar arus listrik, maka semakin besar pula gaya Lorentz yang dihasilkan. Semakin besar medan magnetnya, semakin besar pula gaya Lorentz yang dihasilkan. Dan elemen matematika yang diperoleh adalah berapa besar gaya Lorentz yang dibangkitkan dalam suatu medan magnet. Next is contextual teaching and learning. Contextual teaching and learning, or CTL, is a holistic learning process and aims to help students understand the meaning of teaching material by relating it to the context of their daily lives. So, the students have dynamic and flexible knowledge or skill to active construction their own understanding. Contextual teaching and learning, or CTL, merupakan proses pembelajaran yang holistik dan bertujuan untuk membantu siswa memahami makna bahan ajar dengan mengaitkannya dengan konteks kehidupan sehari-hari, sehingga siswa memiliki pengetahuan yang dinamis dan fleksibel. Next, contextual teaching and learning, or CTL, is a learning approach that emphasizes the process of student involvement to find the material they are learning and connect and apply in their lives. Contextual teaching and learning, or CTL, merupakan pendekatan pembelajaran yang menekankan pada proses keterlibatan siswa untuk menemukan materi yang mereka pelajari dan menghubungkannya serta mengaplikasikannya dalam kehidupan mereka. Dengan demikian, peran siswa dalam pembelajaran CTL adalah sebagai peserta didik yang menemukan dan mengkonstruksi konsep yang dipelajari. Pembelajaran bukan menghafal dan mengingat fakta, tetapi pembelajaran merupakan upaya untuk mengoptimalkan potensi peserta didik dari aspek kognitif, afektif, dan psikomotorik. Pembelajaran yang berorientasi pada penguasaan materi saja. Next, contextual teaching and learning is a learning concept that helps teacher link the material they teach with students' real-world situations and encourage students to make connection between their knowledge and its application in their daily lives by involving the 6 main components of effective learning, namely, the first is constructivism, the second is asking, third, finding, fourth, the learning community, fifth, modeling, and the last is actual assessment. Pengajaran dan pembelajaran kontekstual merupakan konsep pembelajaran yang membantu guru menghubungkan materi yang mereka ajarkan dengan situasi dunia nyata siswa dan mendorong siswa untuk membuat hubungan antara pengetahuan mereka dan penerapannya dalam kehidupan sehari-hari dengan melibatkan 6 konsep utama pembelajaran efektif, yaitu konstruktivisme, bertanya, menemukan, komunitas belajar, pemodelan, dan penilaian aktual. Next, the contextual learning approach in the classroom is quite easy. Broadly speaking, the steps are as follows. Develop the idea that children will learn more meaningfully by working alone. Carry out far as possible inquiry on all topics. Develop students' curiosity by asking questions. Create a learning society. Present the model as an example of learning. Reflect the end of the meeting. Make real judgment in the various ways. Pendekatan pembelajaran kontekstual di kelas cukup mudah. Secara garis besar langkah-langkahnya adalah sebagai berikut. Kembangkan gagasan bahwa anak-anak akan belajar lebih bermakna dengan bekerja sendiri dan membangun pengetahuan dan keterampilan baru mereka sendiri. Yang kedua, lakukan penyelidikan sejauh mungkin tentang semua topik. Yang ketiga, kembangkan rasa ingin tahu siswa dengan mengajukan pertanyaan. Yang keempat, menciptakan suasana belajar. Yang kelima, mempresentasikan model sebagai contoh pembelajaran. Yang keenam, renungan di akhir pertemuan. Yang ketujuh, membuat penilaian nyata dengan berbagai cara. Next, implementation contextual teaching and learning. Step on the contextual teaching and learning. The first one is carry out as far as possible inquiry on all topics. Phase 2, develop student curiosity by asking questions. Phase 3, create a learning society. Phase 4, present the model as an example of learning. Phase 5, reflect the end of the meeting. Phase 6, make real judgment in various ways. Langkah-langkah pembelajaran kontekstual tahap pertama adalah lakukan penyelidikan sejauh mungkin tentang semua topik. Tahap kedua, kembangkan keingintahuan siswa dengan mengajukan pertanyaan. Tahap ketiga, ciptakan suasana belajar. Tahap keempat, hadirkan model sebagai contoh pembelajaran. Tahap kelima, renungan di akhir pertemuan. Tahap keenam, membuat penilaian nyata dengan berbagai cara. Next, the last topic is creative problem solving. Creative problem solving, or CPS, learning model is a learning method that focuses on teaching and problem solving skills, which is followed by strengthening skills. The purpose of problem solving teaching is to improve high order thinking skills. Next, there are 4 types of knowledge that are developed in the students through problem solving. The 4 knowledge are declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge, semantic knowledge, and the last is metacognitive knowledge. Next, declarative knowledge is knowledge about fact, terminology, or principle. Students know things they don't know after solving problems. Procedural knowledge is knowledge about procedure or methods. Semantic knowledge is a semantic of the ways students have taken and owned after solving of problems. Metacognitive knowledge is rethinking things that have been thought so that someone is responsible for what they think. Pengetahuan deklaratif adalah pengetahuan tentang fakta, terminologi, atau prinsip. Siswa mengetahui hal-hal yang tidak mereka ketahui setelah menyelesaikan masalah tersebut. Nah, pengetahuan prosedural adalah pengetahuan tentang prosedur atau metode. Sedangkan pengetahuan skematik adalah skema cara yang diambil dan dimiliki siswa setelah menyelesaikan suatu masalah. Dan pengetahuan metakognitif itu adalah memikirkan kembali hal-hal yang telah dipikirkan sehingga seseorang bertanggung jawab atas apa yang dipikirkannya. The specialty of the creative problem-solving learning model is to place the student in real situation because the problem raised are ill-defined, complex, and meaningful types of problems with creative solution from students. Keistimewaan model pembelajaran kreatif problem solving adalah menempatkan siswa pada situasi nyata karena masalah yang diangkat merupakan jenis masalah yang tidak jelas, kompleks, dan bermakna. The process of creative problem solving learning model consists of the following steps. First, clarification of the problems. Second, disclosure of opinions. The third, evaluation and selections. Implementation of creative problem solving. The first is clarification problems. Provide an explanation to students if they have difficulty regarding the problems posed. Student clarify problems and formulate problem in simple sentence. And the second, the teacher helps provide explanation to students when they experience difficulties about the problem posed, so the students can understand that solutions are expected. Disclosure opinions. Express opinions about various problem-solving strategies. The teachers direct students to discuss in their groups, and each member of the group is free to express their opinions about various kinds of problem-solving strategies. Next, evaluation and selections. Each group discusses the opinions that are suitable for solving the problems. Students reviews their opinions by providing an explanation of each opinion expressed, so that strategies, method, or solutions that are less relevant can be crossed out. Next, students use critical selective considerations with convergence thinking. Students choose the best alternative that is used as a solution. Next, implementation. Determine which strategies can be taken to solve the problem, then implement it until you find a solution to the problems. Students implement the selected opinion to be applied until the solution to the problem that is expected is found. Okay guys, thank you for watching this video. Sorry for all our mistakes. And the last say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.